Recording in progress.
Hey, everybody, welcome to Nerds Night Out, a program designed to celebrate all things nerd culture. And tonight I have the pleasure of talking to John Bellotti Jr., aka Robo 7. And tonight we're going to be talking about everything from kaijus to monsters to titans, whatever you want to call them. We're going to be talking Ultraman and some amazing things. And if you're not following John Bellotti Jr., be sure to check him out on Instagram at Robo 7, as well as other social media accounts. John, thank you very much for joining me tonight. It's an honor to talk to you.
Oh, hey, the honor's all mine. I appreciate you having me on. And God, this all came together today, didn't it? This
Yeah,
morning.
that's right. That's right. Yeah, I appreciate it. I've had the pleasure of speaking with you for just months now. I feel like it's got to be at least over a year now too. Uh, and I had the pleasure of meeting you at Kaiju Brooklyn and in Industry City this year. And I have to say, and not only was I taken back by how much of a gentleman you were, how professional you were, how amazing your art is, but dear God, how tall you are. When you stood up to greet me, I was I think if you looked up the definition of emasculated, it would be that scenario there where I looked up to you like the people on the streets looking up to Godzilla as he comes trumping and thumping through the city. I saw you. I said, "Oh my gosh, why don't we sit back down and talk?"
Yeah, sit down, John, sit lower.
Just do me a favor, please, for God's sakes, just
Yeah.
sit down for 5 minutes and then we'll talk. But I thought the event was so cool. I brought my son with me. Like me, he has grown up with kaiju movies, Gamera mostly, Godzilla, and to kind of see that in our home city of and to see in Brooklyn uh, that you're putting together shows like this, it really is amazing. How did Kaiju Brooklyn come about?
It's a long story, but I'll try to do the Cliff Note version because I think I mentioned it on the first time I was on your show. But I would do a show called G Fest in Chicago every year. It's the Godzilla convention. And right before COVID hit, they started messing around with their rules for artists. And then COVID hit, some stuff went down on social media with the artist and the showrunner. And then the showrunner decided to ban all the artists there.
Oh,
Now, for context, I don't just do G Fest. I do a lot of different shows like New York Comic Con,
right.
Anime NYC. I did Japan World Heroes and Monsterpalooza out in Burbank in the same building, so ironically. MegaCon in Orlando, Baltimore Comic Con. I get around. I
Yeah,
really,
no, that's great. And
yeah,
those are all great shows.
yeah. They're all, yeah. Every show is treated me very well, thankfully. And the G Fest thing it stung a little, because it just sort of it's kind of unprecedented for a convention in this country to ban artists because of
Right. Yeah.
the IP holder. It just kind of, but anyway, I kind of would notice that whenever I would do New York-based shows like Comic Con or anime, I would do really well selling my artwork, and all my Godzilla artist friends would do really well. And I kept saying to myself, the market is here because we
Hmm.
used to have the G Fest used to be in New York. It was G Con back in the 90s. And then the organizers had falling out. And then one guy kept the show in New York. The other guy went and started one in Chicago, which became G Fest. So we haven't had a kaiju show here since 97 and 98, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And Five Points Fest is the closest thing we have. But it's more like designer vinyl, designer kaiju, stuff like that. And they'll get, like Marasan, Sun Guts will come out from Japan. And I think what tipped it over was me and my friend Chris of Size with Toys did a Mothra screening at Japan Society. I want to say, was it last year? It might have been the year before. And we set up a little table out in the lobby for 45 minutes before and 45 minutes after the show. The success that we had in that short amount of time was unbelievable. On top of the fact that they sold out the screening of 200 plus people, which for Mothra, I was kind of shocked.
Which Mothra are we talking about?
The original, the
original
movie.
Mothra?
Yeah, yeah. And so that idea kept gestating in my brain, and me and Chris kept going back and forth with, God, we have to do something. Maybe we could do something else at Japan Society. Like maybe we could set up at a theater somewhere. And I remember I kept approaching Japan Village inside Industry City about doing something. And a friend of mine happens to work in Industry City. He works at Fodera Guitars. He makes bass guitars. And he said, "Hey, I have a friend I went to theater school with. He has a black box theater space inside Industry City, and that's the space that you saw, obviously."
Yeah.
He said his name is Anthony. They're called BK1 Productions. He said, he just got the space this past May. This was 2023. And he said he's looking to do events. So I said, great, let me go meet him. This was, I want to say last June, no, last July is when I went to meet him. And I pitched him the idea and he loved it. And now I would like to add that I work in Hollywood, but over here in New York. So I'm in a labor union. I'm a scenic artist for movies, TV shows. And the writer's strike hit in May, right as my last job was wrapping up. So I had all this time off, which was even better. So having the time off and then the actors going on strike in July, I knew that I wasn't going to be going back to work until literally this year. So that gave me like a really wide cushion of time that I could like organize a show. I already was teasing it to my friends that were vendors and artists saying, hey, if I do this show in Brooklyn, would you come? And everybody was down for it. I just needed to get the venue. So now that I sort of time jumped like a Chris Nolan movie all over the place, it's like the movie Memento.
Non-linear storytelling is great.
Yeah, thank you. I try to be as linear as possible, but but anyway, as you can see, it wasn't a clear path to the creation of the show. I mean, it was a bunch of different things coming together at the same time. So when I pitched the show to Anthony, I said, all right, man, so do you want to do this for next spring, meaning 2024? He goes, no, I want to do something for October for Halloween. I went, oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, well, it's July.
Yeah, a lot of prep time,
Yeah, or not lack of. It's
right.
I equate it to like planning your wedding in 2 months.
Right.
Basically. So we announced the show in August, sold out of vendor spaces in 24 hours. And Anthony, we had a certain threshold of ticket sales we wanted to sell, like, so, pre-sales as we called it. So we hit that number, we went over it. But what we didn't anticipate were all the people showing up at the door. We had almost 1,000 people for our first time event.
It was a hell of a crowd.
Yeah. The photos. I look at those photos and I smile. Like I smile because I remember the morning of the show. I'm walking around and it's like General Patton walking on the battlefield, before the battle commences. And you were that Industry City, as you know, there's a courtyard outside.
Yeah.
Now, I kept looking out to the other side on 35th Street where the ramp is. I kept walking out there and I'm like, there's no one out here. It's raining. Like, where is everyone? This is going to be a disaster, right? So I go back in and what I don't realize is that everybody was hanging out in the courtyard. I didn't know that. So I filmed when the doors opened and it was just a steady stream of people coming in and it didn't let up until like 4 o'clock and then picked up at like 5:30 again. It was insane. It was absolutely insane. There were moments of like there were little lulls, but it was just nonstop. And then we had we had the screening at the end of Shin Ultraman that we were going to do outside, but then the rain forced us indoors, and everybody was just great about it. All the attendees, I got up and said a few words. I was a little intoxicated, I have to add.
Well, there were some amazing themed drinks that night.
Yeah.
That's definitely a standout. I love it. I always say I love the immersiveness of it, that you're passing by the bar and there's Godzilla themed drinks, and I love how everybody in Industry City, that's the place, Industry City, was really on board with what you were putting out, and that's really a testament to your relationship and how you were working with Anthony and BK1.
Yeah, I want to say 90% of that was actually 99% of that was Anthony. In fact, I'll give him 100%.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He's the one that builds these amazing relationships with them. And his I don't want to say job, but his position in his space is to basically bring all these cultural events into the space, into Industry City. And I remember hearing how the bar Frying Pan, St. Mark's Comics, apparently like they all like doubled and tripled their profits for the day because of the crowd we brought in. So the Monday after the show, we were like this legend, according to Anthony. Everyone, even the owner of Industry City, was talking about us. So
no, it was a hell of a show, and you really like that niche crowd. Like you were you fill the void, right? I mean, Brooklyn,
Yeah,
as you said, we used to have these shows, and admittedly, I think I was probably in college around the time or a little before when these Godzilla shows were coming on. I did hit a few Star Trek conventions back in the day, little
right.
Fangoria shows, and I have to say, I regret not knowing about these Brooklyn, New York themed Godzilla shows. In fact, I discovered your account on the very same day my son and I were saying, "Gosh, it would be great if there were Godzilla festivals here in Brooklyn." And my phone, in its infinite spydom, picked up on that and sent me right to you. And I was like infatuated,
Wow.
like, oh my God.
Wow.
Because my son and I are probably a microcosm of how much this city is clamoring for a good monster show, a good Kaiju Fest. And you absolutely provided. And it's also a testament to your, and God willing, I know you had to do it in a split second, but I saw the rain that day, and I said, listen, it could be someone's funeral, and the rain is gonna keep people away, and it didn't. The
Yeah.
the crowds were there, and it's great. Industry City, for people who are listening who may not know what Industry City is, essentially is a series of factories that maybe roughly 30 years ago were beyond. You just didn't go to Industry City. You didn't go to that area unless you were risking your life. Now it's become like a major cultural center. They've taken these old factories and turned them into beautiful stores, cultural venues. There's a great Japanese market there. I attended a hot sauce convention not too long before Kaiju Fest took place. So it is a great place now to visit. As you mentioned, the courtyards feel like you're in a whole different world. It's
Oh,
it's
I
a
love
great
it.
place to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah. I
Uh,
will. I mean, I could tease the next show. I could
oh,
talk about Kaiju Brooklyn too. I have, we have some stuff finalized and some stuff not quite finalized, but I can say that the next show will be June 1st.
nice.
The same space. We lost three of our original vendors, but we have
Rest in
three
peace.
new. No, but they're family. They'll definitely be back.
Awesome.
Yeah, they're not going anywhere. And we have three new artists. We have Nick Chev coming in from the West Coast, but Jersey born and bred. Mark Dos Santos is another great kaiju artist. He's from the tri-state area. And BXE Buttons. They do all sorts of pop culture buttons, but they have a lot of like cool kaiju buttons and patches. So they're coming in. So those are our three new vendors.
Very cool.
The other vendors are expanding their footprint in the space, so there'll be more, more merchandise, more toys for people.
Now,
And
I heard you say June 1st. I
June
noticed
1st.
that you didn't follow it up with June 2nd as well. Are there plans to expand beyond the show being a one-day festival?
Yes, but I don't want to formally announce it.
I will not jinx you. I will not jinx it.
No, it's 90% in the can, as they say.
Yes.
Um,
I still say in the can too. Don't worry about it.
yeah,
I
I don't want to say it's a 2-day show. It's almost like Kaiju Brooklyn plus one,
Oh, I like that. Okay. I
or
like that.
half of one.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
there's We're gonna kick things off with a bang, is all I'll say.
Oh
But
my God.
it won't be Sunday. That's all I'm gonna say. Um, it's The show is definitely expanding this year. We have a lot more volunteers, so if anybody wants to volunteer,
Yeah,
it's going to be
I
yeah,
just saw on your Instagram page the call for volunteers. So uh
yeah.
and I would imagine just like attendees, the volunteers are plentiful.
Yeah, so far we got 4 or 5 plus
Nice.
the people that are coming back from last year, who are all amazing. You're definitely going to see more Kaiju Brooklyn in Industry City. I can announce that we are collaborating and teaming up with Japan Village for this one, which we're very, very excited about. So we are going to utilize their spaces as well. If you recall, Japan Village is the supermarket and the food hall, but if you go into the
Yes.
courtyard, there's two houses out there that used to be restaurants that they've shuttered since COVID. And they basically said, we can offer you that house upstairs, we could offer you the stage outside, and we can offer you the space upstairs in the loft, which is ironically where I wanted to hold the show years ago. Um, so it's kind of like, poetic that it's come back around like full
Well,
circle.
I would imagine, and from a business standpoint, the first show showed that the festival has legs.
Not only that, yes, 100%.
And I would imagine John, yourself and Anthony kind of nurturing these relationships, as you said, that kind of that secondary business, that byproduct of St. Mark's Place and these other shows, other stores, their profit margin increasing on the day of the show is a blessing.
Right. And we met up with the wonderful people at Japan Village. We got in too late with them for the last show, but they said let us know about the second one. So we said sure. So we
Right.
reached out, had a meeting with them, and we basically said like half the cosplayers from our show came up here anyway to take photos. So why don't we just do something up here? So there will be a cosplay element we have to talk about with some people that's going to take place up there. And we're also I don't want to say it, but I mean, we're also bringing in panels this year.
Oh,
Yeah,
my favorite.
yeah. So the idea is, we'll utilize the house outside for some panels, as well as a special house of a certain Japanese superhero, and upstairs in the loft we'll have panels all morning into the afternoon. So that area be a panel area for like 3 or 4 panels, and then we'll have a break, and then more panels will continue. And there's 3 different distilleries and bars in that courtyard next to our show. So we're going to utilize those 3 spaces, and then we're going to finish with the screening of Godzilla 84, which we already announced. And we're going to
Nice.
do a really great panel in the courtyard right before the screening that we're really excited about. So yeah, you're going to see Kaiju Brooklyn all over the place for that
That's
show.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm happy to hear that. You had mentioned though earlier that by the end of Kaiju Fest 1, you had a little libation, some drinks. Uh, did what was your favorite drink out of all of them? All the specialty drinks that were being offered that day?
I think the Ultraman punch.
How to be? You think you're a little biased with Ultraman? Because for people who don't know, Robo 7 is the official artist of Ultraman. Is that just the bias of Ultraman, or was it really as good as you say?
No, well, first let me just add something. I'm not. You made it seem like I'm the only artist. I'm
Oh
one of.
no, no, correct, yeah, yeah.
I mean, that'd be great if I was the man, like the Jack
Well,
Kirby.
you know what? In my eyes, you're the man. But yeah, you right.
I
Uh,
will say they're very happy with my output. Is all I'll say. Um, no, we came up with a list of drink names, and I sat there and I went over it, and I was like coming up with all these fun names, and we gave it to them, to Frying Pan, and they kind of narrowed it down and changed some of the names. So none of the names that we came up with stuck, but they just sort of took some of the ideas and made it their own. It's like whatever, it's fine.
yeah, yeah. They know. I'm sure they know what they're doing, right?
Oh yeah, no, those,
Yeah.
those drinks, yeah, those drinks got me. I don't remember how I got home that night, but I got home. I
That's
got
great.
home.
That's the most important thing,
Yeah,
right?
I got home. I survived, but yeah, that was those drinks are pretty strong. They were taking care of us. So we really love those guys a lot. Guys
And that's fantastic. And I really am looking forward to Kaiju Fest 2. I'm looking forward to the screening of Godzilla 84. I'm looking forward to the panels. Uh, we really are. We had thought at least in '98 when we got the TriStar Godzilla that okay, this is it. American audiences are really gonna start digging kaiju movies. They're gonna love this monster film. I mean, I'm sure similar to you, you may have grown up with watching some marathons on Thanksgiving,
Oh yeah.
or Mighty Joe Young, King Kong, Godzilla, anything that the WPIX could get their hands on. That's what I watch on Channel 11. But uh, and then that faltered, and Godzilla kind of disappeared from the American conscious. But 2014, we got the American Godzilla, and now, I mean, this year alone, I mean, we've got so much Godzilla. There's a Godzilla versus Justice League comic. There's the Monarch Apple show, the new Godzilla versus Godzilla X King Kong, what New
No,
Kingdom or something.
the new Empire.
New Empire, New Empire. I think I'm confusing my Planet of the Apes. But and And of course, I mean, oh, the greatest piece of cinema I've seen in forever, Godzilla Minus One.
Yeah,
Uh,
masterpiece.
oh my gosh, about to be re-released in black and white in theaters for a limited run as well. Do you think this is a fortuitous, or do you think it's just fate, or uh, is Kaiju Fest kind of a reflection of kaiju culture really growing in our country?
Yes to all those things. I think, like I said, this is an idea that's been in my brain for, I want to say, since COVID, since 2021.
Right.
Um, but I think, like, I didn't know, like, we didn't know Godzilla vs. Kong was going to come and hit the way it did. We all thought they were going to dump it, in the theaters or on HBO Max, and then it would just go away and no one would care. But it did well in the theaters during, not during lockdown, but during COVID. And then I remember hearing about Minus One. I didn't know the name of it, but I heard about it at Monster Palooza the year before in 2022, like that October. But after, Shin Godzilla, I kind of thought it would just come and go. I didn't know it was going to be what it was. I heard the name, I heard there was a
Mhm.
prequel. Said, okay, I mean, some Toho, they have a very, they can have a spotty track record with some of their movies. And they,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
they went from Final Wars to these anime, which were awful, to the,
Uh, the
Shin Godzilla,
uh,
the trilogy.
Godzilla Earth ones.
Yeah, it was just,
Oh,
it was tough. And
yeah, it was tough to get through.
yeah, and I don't hate Shin Godzilla, but I wasn't blown away. So
Shin Godzilla is like you said, it's a fun, it's a good film. I wouldn't say it's necessarily fun. It's very much 90% of the movie is bureaucratic
right,
debating, and I get it, and I get that take on the politics and how Godzilla would kind of be reflected in today's kind of the way it was debated, but. Uh, Yeah, but I Singular Point. I tried to watch Singular Point. I could not do it. Could not. I couldn't get. I haven't finished it yet. The Netflix series. I did enjoy. What did you watch? Gamera Rebirth.
I
The
liked it. Yeah, I liked it
Yeah,
when Singular Point.
that. Oh yeah, much better, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
It was cool to see these Gamera characters that we've only seen in limited budget films
right,
now with that artistic freedom and showing how they were designed to move and act, and it was really really cool. Definitely a glowing endorsement for Rebirth. Uh,
right. Oh,
so what was your impression? Did you see Minus One in the theaters?
oh yeah, I saw it 4 times. Probably gonna be 5 times with the black and white version.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely think. What was your first impression of the film?
I do this thing when I'm anticipating a film. When I sit there and watch it, I don't pay attention because I'm so excited to see it. And I remember like watching it, thinking like, there's a few little things I didn't like little nitpick things. But I remember like
That's
my
cool.
friends around me wiping tears away.
Oh my God, yeah,
Yeah, and I'm
me too.
like, yeah, and I didn't again, I didn't appreciate, I liked it the first time. It wasn't until the second screening in IMAX where I was just blown away. I remember just smiling a lot and just getting emotional at certain parts. And if I was alone, I probably would have cried a lot more. But when you're surrounded by, a ton of people, it's like, all right, you
Right,
got to
suck it
hold
up.
it in. Yeah, just suck it back up. Um, but there's a few parts that I won't name, but they hit me hard every single time I see
Oh
it.
my God.
And I took my wife in the fourth time because she said, "Wow, you're seeing this movie for 4 times, and it's up for an Oscar nomination." I said, "Well, do you want to come tonight?" And she said, "Sure," because I got to see what this is about. And she liked it. I took my brother; he really liked it. I've never. It was so crazy, man, because when Minus One came out, I don't know how much you're on social media, but I'm on it a lot for obvious reasons. I got it for my art, my show,
Right.
and notice that the fandom, it's a very, let's, I don't know what, it's a very,
Fickle.
yeah, very fickle, very frenetic, very particular,
Yeah.
and it's usually on fire at all times. It's kind of like the Bronx in the 70s was always on fire,
Okay.
or
Sounds.
Alphabet City, just always on fire. Here's sirens. Like, what is it now? What toy do people hate? What movie? Who's fighting about who would win a fight? But when Minus One came out, it was the first time I think I've ever seen peace in the fandom.
Mm.
Ever. It was so much calmness. It was just this serenity about the -1 and what it did for people. There was a few, you know, people chirping in that they didn't like the movie. It was this, was that.
There's always going to be that voice of
Right.
dissent. And you know what? In terms of what you said too about there are a few things you don't like. I always think that's a great way to celebrate your fandom. If you like something, it's okay to debate it and discuss it. Just because you didn't like it 100% didn't mean it wasn't enjoyable, and it also doesn't
Right.
mean you're any less of a fan. It means that you want to discuss the art. And I tell you, it was one of the few Godzilla films that I could ever recall that people were using words like beautiful,
Yeah.
touching, and
Yeah.
and on a
Scary.
15.
Scary too.
Pardon
People
me?
use scary. That's
Oh
another word.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You don't hear that with Godzilla.
No, no, not anymore. Not anymore. I mean,
No.
you know, when Godzilla was doing the dance on the moon,
Yeah.
or drop kicking,
Yeah. Jump kicks.
yeah, yeah, you know, and the Titan legendary Godzilla is kind of a different character in every film. I got to ask you, and I know we're talking about nitpicking, and I'm gonna just toss out something, and it's fair game because the movie's not out yet, so anything we say is just speculative. But Godzilla X Kong, the new Empire, when the trailer came out, and you saw King Kong wearing his power glove or whatever it is, and Godzilla and him running top speed like they're quarterbacks on a football field. What was your first impression of that? You think? I mean, what? Oh, so I will. I won't. I was about to say my own, but what was your first impression of that scene?
With laughter,
Yeah, that's fair.
unabashed joy.
Mm,
I I see. So I don't. I'm not a huge fan of the legendary movies, but it doesn't mean I'm going to ban it from Kaiju Brooklyn. That's stupid business, right? I'm not going to say no. There'll be no representation of legendary at Kaiju Brooklyn because I don't like
right.
it. There people love it, and that's great. It keeps the character and the social consciousness. I was I liked the Godzilla and Kong team like aspect of Godzilla vs Kong, right? Like anytime they're on screen together, it just made me happy. Like I love Kong as a character. I think
Mhm.
he's great. They did a Skull Island. I did enjoy,
Oh,
and
a
I
lot of
think
fun.
yeah, and seeing Kong do the Lethal Weapon 2 where he like and bangs
Yeah,
his shoulder into the building. I mean, and then he does the
that's
dive hard off the boat.
they even had a it's in the credits too as a thank you to Lethal Weapon 2. You
Oh
know,
yeah,
they
yeah.
yeah, it's pretty
So
cool.
so being an 80s action movie aficionado and super fan, I got a kick out of that. So when I saw Godzilla running, I just laughed.
Yeah,
I wasn't mad. I don't know why so many people are mad about that because
yeah.
Godzilla ran in Final Wars and Megalon and
There are a lot of things to be mad at. Godzilla running is not one of them.
no, and
Yeah, yeah.
like
But
I just smiled seeing them team up because I kind of wanted this. I like that aspect of those characters. It's very
so
unique.
what's your preferred reaction? The uh laughing at something that is Godzilla can be silly, and that's okay. And I think Godzilla X Kong is kind of giving us that a little bit where they're running alongside each other like Batman and Robin. So
Right.
you have that silly-ish Godzilla, or you have the nightmarish Godzilla that we've got in Godzilla Minus One. And I do believe, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm talking to the king of kaiju himself, but what is this? This has got to be one of the first times that we have a Japanese released Godzilla film and an American released Godzilla film in the same year, and neither one being a adaptation of the other. Both are wholly independent of each other. And in Godzilla Minus One, we have this Godzilla that is just a straight up nightmare force of nature versus the Godzilla that most likely is existing to move toys off the rack in the
Right.
Legendary series. Is there? Do you have a preference for one or the other?
Oh yeah, the Nightmare Godzilla by far. But I will say that the legendary Godzilla, I don't hate the character. They do the monsters very well. The effects are great. The problem with those movies are the human characters, and we've literally just been proven with Minus One and
Mhm.
54 and Monster Zero and Multiverse Godzilla, even Destroy All Monsters, that you could have compelling human characters,
Right.
an interesting story, on top of the monster stuff. Biolante was another one. 84. I mean, there's so
And you know,
many.
and Biolante, Godzilla vs. Biolante doesn't get the credit it deserves. It is a weird film in that you're essentially having Godzilla versus this giant, mutated plant. But
Right.
the film itself, as you said, had the compelling characters. I thought Minus One was one of the first Godzilla films I've seen in a long time where I wasn't clamoring for more Godzilla. I wasn't doing a time count. With Godzilla 2014, I'm like, okay, well, I think he was in the movie maybe 12 minutes out of the 2 hour plus film. He's in it for 12 minutes. And they were taking that kind of monsters, Jaws approach of limiting the screen time of the monster. But in Godzilla Minus One, I never had that reaction because the human story was so compelling and so heartfelt that I wanted more. Uh, Shin Godzilla, we never got a sequel to. Do you think we're going to have? I can't imagine what they would call it, but Godzilla Minus Two. Obviously they're not going to do that. But would you like to see this world explored a little more?
Oh, 100%. I'm a big proponent that they obviously left it open that it can grow.
Right.
And with the, spoilers, but we know how it ends. If everyone's listening to this, they haven't seen it. There's problems, but it ends in a way that Godzilla can return, and it ends in a way that Godzilla cells can have an effect on other creatures and other beings. So I want to see him use that as like a springboard. And I know the director wants to do a sequel, and he just told, where was it? I think it was a Lucasfilm, and he had like a Q&A, and he told people like, tell Toho you want a sequel because I want to make a sequel. And some of the actors have said that there's like room for a sequel. There's more sequel talk about this than I think there was for Shin Godzilla. Like Shin Godzilla felt like a one-off,
Yeah,
sort of
that's
like
fair.
deconstruction kind of film, where this feels like it could springboard into something else. And I know Toho has come and said, they've come out and said in a magazine in Japan that they're not in a rush. They want to make sure they got the right director, the right
Good.
story, which is great. That's great. And they don't have to be like Marvel and crank these things out, but
Right.
I think they
I
need
mean,
to.
correct me if I'm wrong, but even the 54 Godzilla saw a sequel in less than a year, I believe it was, right?
Yeah, 55. And that was, I mean, for all intents and purposes, that was a cash grab. And,
Right. Right.
Ishiro Honda himself has said there never should have been any sequel to the original Godzilla.
That's fair.
It is technically it's a standalone film. So 50, the rates again does feel like it's just there to cash in. Whereas the other films after that, yeah, there is a cash in aspect of it. It is show business, not show art. But the other
Oh,
sequels tried to at least do something different, where he's fighting Kong, which was huge, and they brought in Mothra, they brought Rodan and Ghidorah, Monster Zero. There was always something different they were doing. So I personally hope that Minus One spawns like the Minus First, whatever the hell they're going to call it.
I'll take it. Minus
Because
first is good. You got to trademark it while you can.
yeah, but I think that Godzilla is ferocious. That's an angry Godzilla. That's a Godzilla with arms that looks ready to fight anything it sees. It's got a lot of character, which you haven't seen with Godzilla in a while.
Fair.
So I really, really hope it launches a universe and sort of like how Marvel maintained up to Endgame, this level of quality with Yamazaki sort of overseeing it and signing off on, films, appointing different art departments and directors and stuff. That's my hope. I don't know if they can do it. I don't know if they can pull it off. We'll
Might be
see.
lightning in a bottle with this.
It might, and that's what I'm afraid of. So that's why I'm just really trying to absorb as much as this as possible. Seeing it as
Understood.
theater.
Just kind of enjoy that moment, right?
Yeah, I did a Godzilla Minus One poster fan. Like I haven't done a Godzilla poster since 2021. I took a break because I just wanted to do other things. Obviously, Ultraman's the big thing. But yeah, Minus One. I started as a fan artist doing posters. How I went from that to running my own kaiju show, I have no idea. And having the Ultraman license, no idea. But that's how I started. And I started making the fan art basically because I love these movies. So everything I
Right.
made was my love coming out. It's fan art. It's fan is short for fanatic. It's passion. It's love for
Well,
this stuff.
we've been talking about Kaiju Fest. We've been talking about Kaiju movies, and you're bringing up Kaiju art. Uh, we haven't really spoken about it, but you are a phenomenal artist.
Oh, thank
Uh,
you.
and I believe if I'm going by your Instagram account, we're going to be seeing you at the Woodbridge Toy Show, which is scheduled for January, is it the 20th?
21st, I believe.
21st?
Yeah.
So January 21st in Woodbridge, New Jersey at the Woodbridge Toy Show.
Yeah.
What are you gonna have with you? Are you gonna have that Godzilla print?
No, that one I didn't have it made in time. I have some other prints I'd like to sell before that one. I'll have some shirts and I'll have some toy. I'm really doing it because I have to move some toys, but I also want to promote Kaiju Brooklyn too.
Yeah.
So I have a little bit of everything. You know, I like one Ultraman shirt design. I'll have some of my art prints and just a bunch of toys I'm looking to you know, just to get rid of.
Yeah, it's a good show. The Woodbridge Toy Show is a solid show. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Uh,
and it's a one-day show, which is nice too.
yeah, and not too far a commute for us. You know,
No, 35 minutes, not
yeah,
even.
yeah, we're good. We're good.
Yeah.
But if anyone's in the area, be sure to check out John. He's going to be at the show this weekend, Sunday, the 21st at the Woodbridge Toy Show. Going to be some cool toys, the Ultraman art. It's great stuff. John, in terms of listeners being able to contact you, get involved, even volunteering in Kaiju Fest, how could people reach out to you?
The best way to go about it is to go onto the Kaiju Brooklyn Instagram page, or we do have a website that is launching soon. We're going to launch it though when we have all our ducks in a row for the convention. So that is coming soon. But in the meantime, they can go to Instagram, go to @Kaiju Brooklyn, or go to Facebook @Kaiju Brooklyn, or they can email me at kaiju@brooklyn1.org.
Nice,
So
nice.
the Brooklyn One is all spelled out. It's Brooklyn and ONE.org.
Oh, I'll be sure to put all the information in the whatever the hell it's called, the blur of the area comics.
Show notes, yeah.
I have no idea. I don't. John, I want to thank you very much for joining me tonight. It's great to see what Kaiju Fest is becoming. It's awesome to see your art, and it's always fun to talk monster movies, kaiju movies with you. Thank you very much for coming out to Nerds Night Out with me. It's been a pleasure, and I hope to talk again as Kaiju Fest 2 starts rolling around.
Yeah, let's do it. Once we have all the official announcements, I think I'd love to come back on closer to the show. You know, we'll hype it up. We'll talk about some cool stuff. Maybe by then we'll have more surprises. I don't know, but we'll see what happens. Well, it's a long time between now and June. It's a long time, but it's not a long time.
It goes quick.
It goes quick. When you're planning something, it goes quick. So,
John, thanks again for everything. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Have a great night.
Hey, thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
All right. Be well, everybody.
Later.